This is Katherine Hines, Executive Director at the Minnesota Alliance for Patient Safety, and I'd like to spend a couple minutes with you today talking about our upcoming conference, which, believe it or not, is our 10th Biennial Safety Conference here in the state of Minnesota. The conference is taking place on Thursday, April 30th and Friday, May 1st, and we are just excited about the program, the caliber of the speakers, and really the richness of the topics that we'll be bringing to our healthcare community. You can find more information and this document, our Agenda at a Glance, which gives a bird's eye view of our powerful 2 days, on the MAPS website at mnpatientsafety.org. It's there you can also find the link to register, which we have a discounted rate, the early bird special, up until March 6th. With that, I'd like to provide an overview of what the 2 days will hold. We're excited about opening up the conference with executives coming from industries outside of healthcare to talk about their key safety journeys, programs, and learnings along the way. We know that these executives from industries like manufacturing and construction are going to bring us really important lessons that we can bring back inside our teams and our healthcare organizations. We'll then move into what is typically the most powerful part of the MAPS conference, which is really hearing stories from those who have been personally impacted by adverse health events and medical errors. We'll come back from lunch to hear from Jane Groutman, who's currently the Executive Director and has been actually for over 27 years at the International Institute of Minnesota. She's going to be discussing growing diversity in our state, which of course not only impacts the communities that we serve, but also our own workforce. And so we'll have a great dialogue and discussion about the impact that that might have on quality and safety. We then welcome Craig Deo, who's an executive at the Studer Group, who just recently published a book called The E Factor, and he'll be detailing the importance of engagement, not only for leaders and staff, but also for patients and families as a mechanism to improve care safety. And lastly for the day, we'll be hearing from the Minnesota Department of Health. As you know, Minnesota was one of the forerunners in our country to pass an adverse health events reporting law. And since it's been around for 15 years, it's time to take a look at what might be the next iteration or what's on the horizon for that event reporting system. And we're thrilled to be hearing firsthand what that might look like. On the second day of our conference, we're welcoming a keynote, a physician from the East Coast who's going to be talking about his journey with a rare disease and how he applied kind of radical out-of-the-box thinking in terms of trying to find his own cure, as well as to reshaping the way that medical research is done. There's going to be a lot of lessons in his conversation, in his session, as it relates to applying out-of-the-box thinking to challenges and problems that have been around for a while, which is certainly the case in our patient safety industry. We then break into a series of 9 breakout sessions for the rest of the morning and the early afternoon that are divided into 3 tracks. The first track is all about further diving into the differences of the patient populations that we're serving, perhaps with some growing trends or diversity or demographics and patterns that we've seen in the past. So we'll explore mental and behavioral health, we'll explore aging within our healthcare systems, and for the first time ever, we'll be hearing from patients and families serving as faculty, talking about, in the face of an adverse event, what they would have wanted to hear or feel from not only their care teams, but also the healthcare organizations that they were involved with. The second track is all around the design of safe systems. So we'll be hearing about telehealth. We'll also be hearing about, which is a very hot topic in today's news, how to prevent the transition of emerging multi-drug resistant organism threats in our communities, particularly through transitions of care. And we'll hear from 2 of our larger integrated health systems co-presenting, mHealth Fairview as well as Allina Health, on what they're putting in place to ensure really the essentials of a strong safety program in their organizations. The third and final track is really designed around exploring how we need to have safe teams and healthy teams with a high degree of well-being in order to deliver high-quality, safe care. So we'll be focusing on topics like healthcare staff burnout, workplace violence and key personnel safety, particularly as it relates to gun violence, And then finally, a roadmap and a pathway to helping prevent drug diversion. We'll end the day again with a couple of speakers from the East Coast, from the Betsy Lehman Center for Patient Safety, detailing cutting-edge research that they've done in the state of Massachusetts, exploring not only the financial toll that adverse events and medical errors can take on our systems, but I think more importantly, the personal toll and the long-range impacts that medical errors can have on patients and their families. As you can see, we have a lot of ground to cover in these 2 days, but on behalf of our board of directors and our conference planning committee, we'd be just thrilled to have you join us and really help change the state of patient safety, not only here in Minnesota, but also continue our tradition of being a forerunner in the country as well. Thank you, and please join us.